Hi guys, I'm back with another Genshin Impact video, and today we're going over Hu Tao. I recently got her and wanted to make a short but thorough guide on her builds for fun. And so I'll be going over some tips, as well as weapons, artifacts, and more. So Hu Tao is a really strong main DPS, and I find her super fun to play. She utilizes her charged attacks the most for her damage, and one tip that I have for Hu Tao is jump cancelling her charged attack. This is so you don't send yourself too far from the enemy, and so you maintain some sort of control over your movement. You can do this by timing a jump right after your charge attack. Alternatively, you can sprint to cancel your charged attack animation. It's the same concept as jump cancelling, but it's a bit trickier to do and uses way more stamina, so I don't really recommend it unless you have C1 Hu Tao. Another tip that I have for Hu Tao is that her sprint can avoid collision with most enemies' attacks, such as the missiles from Ruin Guards and the Hydro Cage from the Mirror Maiden, and so on. It's super helpful to get out of sticky situations, so keep it in mind. Enough tips, now moving on to weapons. There are several weapon options that you could use on Hu Tao. For free-to-play or new players, viable weapon options for Hu Tao are either the Black Tassel or the White Tassel. These are 3-star weapons that are easily obtainable and refinable, either by wishing on the gacha in the case of Black Tassel, or obtained through Leo HS in the case of White Tassel, and both have decent substats. Black Tassel increases your HP significantly, which is useful on Hu Tao, and White Tassel increases your crit rate. Both weapons don't have the best passives, but they're still very usable until you can get a better 4-star or higher weapon. Another free-to-play option is the Black Cliff Polearm, which can be obtained by exchanging Star Glitter at the Paimon shop. It has crit damage as a substat, which is always very useful, and the passive isn't too bad. Overall, it's a good upgrade if you're looking to switch out of the Black Tassel or the White Tassel. For other 4-star options, one good option is the Dragon's Bane. This weapon's substat is Elemental Mastery, which is great for elemental reaction comps, and the passive increases damage against enemies affected by Hydro or Pyro by 20% at R1. This weapon works really well if you run Hu Tao with Xingqiu in a Vaporize comp. Another 4-star option is the Battle Pass Polearm, the Deathmatch. You get crit rate as a substat, which is super helpful when building for crit, and the passive helps to increase your attack depending on how many opponents are nearby. Overall, this is a very budget-friendly weapon that's pretty strong on Hu Tao. For 5-star options, of course her best in slot and most viable weapon is the Staff of Homa. Homa is extremely strong on Hu Tao because of the crit damage substat and the useful passive that increases your HP and attack if your HP is under 50%. It's definitely a significant power increase over other 5-star and 4-star weapon options. Other 5-star weapon options are still technically viable, like Primordial Jadewing Spear, as it has crit rate as a substat and the passive is useful for Hu Tao, as on hit your attack is increased up to a max of 7 stacks. But I don't really recommend energy recharge weapons such as Engulfing Lightning or Skyward Spine on Hu Tao, as she doesn't really benefit from energy recharge. Enough about weapons, now moving on to the hardest part of character builds, and that's artifacts. For Hu Tao, there are several ways you can build her depending on what artifacts you have. One way to build her is by using a 4-piece Crimson Witch of Flame set. You get 15% pyro damage bonus from the 2-piece effect, and 15% increase to melt or vaporize damage, as well as another increase to your pyro damage from the 4-piece effect. This set is very strong on a reaction Hu Tao comp, such as a vaporize comp, and overall is a very balanced set for her. Another way to build Hu Tao, especially if you don't have a good 4-piece Crimson Witch of Flames set, is by using 2-piece Crimson Witch of Flames and either 2-piece Tenacity of the Millelith, 2-piece Gladiator's Finale, or 2-piece Shimenawa's Reminiscence. You get 15% pyro damage bonus from the 2-piece Witch set and either 20% HP from Tenacity or 18% attack from Glad or Shimenawa. Of course, this build isn't ideal, but it's a good alternative if you're farming for Crimson Witch of Flames pieces but still haven't gotten a good full set. One last build for Hu Tao is 4-piece Shimenawa's Reminiscence. This set gives 18% attack from the 2-piece effect and 50% increase to normal, charged, and plunging attacks for 10 seconds after using an elemental skill. This set is very viable on Hu Tao if you're looking to make her charge attacks very strong. However, I only recommend this set if you already have a good Shimenawa set and no good Crimson Witch of Flame set, as although Shimenawa makes your charge attack stronger, you sacrifice your burst, which limits your AoE and self-heal. Now, onto main stats. For Hu Tao, generally you'd want either HP % or Elemental Mastery on the sands. Both are viable, but Elemental Mastery is a bit stronger for Vaporize. Pyro damage bonus on the Goblet, and crit rate or crit damage on the Circlet, depending on what you need more. For substats, Hu Tao's best substats are crit rate or crit damage, HP %, flat HP, or energy recharge. Decent substats for Hu Tao are Elemental Mastery, attack %, and flat attack. These subsets are okay, but not priority for Hu Tao, especially if you're already using an Elemental Mastery weapon on Hu Tao, such as the Dragon's Bane. And the avoid at all cost substats are defense %, and flat defense. For talent level priorities, generally you'd want to level all your talents on Hu Tao equally, but for the sake of this video, if you're looking to use Hu Tao for her charge attack damage, I'd prioritize her auto attack and elemental skill equally, and you can level up your burst last. But if you're going for a nuke or one-shot playstyle for Hu Tao, I'd prioritize her burst first, then her auto attack, and then her elemental skill. Now for constellations. C1 Hu Tao is definitely one of her strongest cons, and I'd say it's a great stopping point for most players. When you use your Pyro Infusion, your charge attacks no longer consume any stamina. It's a great quality of life change and helps to dish out damage a little faster if you use dash cancels. But if you're free to play or a budget player, and you're kinda on the fence of either choosing C1 Hu Tao or Staff of Homa, I'd say it's better to go for Staff of Homa instead of C1 if you're looking for more damage and value from your pulls, as you can swap weapons and Homa is pretty much best in slot for many polearm characters. But if you really want C1 and can afford it, I'd say go for it, you do you. C2 makes your Blossom scale off of HP, and it's a decent DPS increase. I'd say it's worth it if you're going for constellations and you can afford it. C3 increases her elemental skill by 3 levels. This helps gives another decent boost to her DPS. And from what I've seen from other Hu Tao mains, if you really love Hu Tao and want to maximize her without going over the top to break your wallet, C3 is a great place to stop. C4 gives a 12% crit rate increase to all allies except for Hu Tao for 15 seconds. Although this gives her more value off-field, I don't think it's worth the amount of money you need to spend to get C4. C3 or C1 are better stopping points. C5 increases her burst by 3 levels, and again, I think it gives a decent DPS boost, but it's definitely not worth all the money needed to get C5. C6, in my opinion, is very gimmicky, and from most of the whales I've seen who have C6 Hu Tao, they'd say the same. It isn't very useful or a giant power boost compared to other characters C6, compared to say C6 Eula or C6 Ganyu. Plus it has such a long cooldown, and I'd say it's not really worth it unless Hu Tao is your #1 waifu and you really love her and want her to be C6. And lastly, I'll be showcasing my Hu Tao and favorite comp so far with her. I run Hu Tao in a double Geo comp with Xingqiu as sub DPS, Zhongli as shield or buffer as I run him with 4-piece tenacity, and Albedo as support. My Hu Tao is level 90 with R1 Staff of Homa and 4-piece Crimson Witch of Flame set. Overall, my artifacts are decent, but I still need to farm for better pieces, and my talents are all at level 8. And here are some clips of my Hu Tao in action to give an idea of how much damage I do with my build. And that's it for this video. I hope this guide was helpful and enjoyable. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!